The Rottweiler kept pushing the baby away from the corner of the room. The parents thought he'd become possessive of his space. He was protecting their son from something they hadn't realized was there. Odessa and Finn Larkin had moved into the house in September. It was a rental, a tall Victorian in a neighborhood they loved, with high ceilings and original moldings, and one of those bay windows that holds the afternoon light like a jar. They had walked through it twice before signing, and both times felt certain. It felt like a place where things went right. Their son Theo was 11 months old and had just started pulling himself to standing on whatever surface presented itself. Couch edges, coffee tables, the cabinet doors in the kitchen. He was a substantial baby, in the cheerful physical way some babies are, with a laugh that came from somewhere deep and unguarded. Their Rottweiler, Magna, was 5 years old and 105 pounds, and had been a fixture in their lives since before Theo existed. She was not an anxious dog. She was not a territorial dog. She had accepted Theo's arrival with the composed, professional equanimity of someone who had expected this development and had already decided how she felt about it. She adored him, quietly, in the way Rottweilers adore, proximity without performance. The house had a bay window in the sitting room. Below the window, tucked into the corner, was a large potted plant, one of those deep green trailing varieties that come with a rental, inherited from a previous tenant. Their roots, entrenched in old soil that smelled of other seasons. Odessa had noted the plant when they moved in without giving it serious attention. She was not a plant person. It was green. It was in a corner. It had been there before them. Theo discovered the corner in October. He pulled himself to standing on the window seat's lower edge and then realized the pot's rim offered additional grip. He reached for it a few times over the course of several days, not successfully. The pot was too tall, the rim too smooth. He would strain toward it and give up, and lower himself to the floor. On a Wednesday morning, he got close enough to touch the soil with 2 fingers. Magna moved faster than Odessa had ever seen the dog move. She came from the hallway and interposed herself between Theo and the pot before Odessa had registered what was happening. She didn't growl. She didn't push Theo. She simply stood in the gap between the baby and the corner, facing the pot, her body a wall. Theo, thwarted, began to cry. Odessa removed Theo from the situation and told Magna to move. Magna moved. Odessa looked at the plant and saw a pot of green trailing leaves and did not think of it again. The following day, same sequence. Theo toward the corner, Magna from wherever she had been, body between baby and pot, facing the wrong direction, not facing Theo, facing the plant. As if the plant were the problem, Finn watched this happen and said what Odessa had been framing as a different question. She's guarding the corner. Odessa agreed. She had a friend who trained dogs, she called her. Territorial guarding of a domestic space in a Rottweiler. Workable, redirectable. Not ideal with a mobile infant in the house. Her friend agreed. They discussed management strategies. That evening, Theo got past Magna for the first time. Magna was in the kitchen when Theo reached the corner. He grabbed the rim of the pot and pulled himself up, and this time his fingers curled over the edge and into the soil before Magna was back in the room. She crossed the floor in something that wasn't quite running and stood her body against Theo's, pressing him gently but firmly backward. He let go of the pot. His right hand had 4 small dots of contact, dermatitis by morning. 4 small raised welts, one on each fingertip, exactly where he had touched the soil. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you're in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Odessa took a photo of the plant and sent it to a botanist friend. The plant was a Dieffenbachia, also called dumb cane, one of the most common toxic houseplants in North America. Its sap contains calcium oxalate crystals that cause intense mucosal irritation on contact in an infant. Skin contact with the soil, which retains sap residue from root contact, produces contact dermatitis within hours. Oral contact, if a child mouths their fingers after touching the soil, produces severe burning, swelling of the tongue and throat, and potential airway compromise. Theo's 4 welts resolved in 48 hours with topical treatment. The plant was removed that afternoon. Their vet, Dr. Cressida Huang, offered what Odessa had needed: someone with credentials to say aloud. Dogs have a scent memory and a chemical detection threshold far exceeding human capacity. Dieffenbachia sap has a distinctive compound profile. Magna had likely detected the chemical signature of the plant from across the room and recognized it through some mechanism we do not fully understand as something that should not make contact with the smallest member of her household. She had not been guarding her territory. She had been guarding Theo's proximity to a chemical source. Has your dog ever seemed to be protecting your child from something you couldn't see yet? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. The corner is empty now. There is no plant, just afternoon light through the bay window, and the smell of old floorboards and the place where Magna stood 4 times with her back to a baby and her face to a problem she had already identified. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who are standing in the wrong direction, for all the right reasons. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. Theo is learning to walk now. Magna follows him from room to room with the same composed, professional attention she has always given him. She checks corners. She investigates new objects before he can reach them. She is doing a job she was never trained for, in a language no one in that house taught her. She learned it herself. She is still learning. What has your dog decided to protect your family from without being asked? The next story begins on a quiet Tuesday morning and ends with a fire investigator who couldn't believe the dog had been in the house.